Hi, I'm Roger Shelstad. Welcome back to Finding the Growth Equation. We're going to start the series of habits. So this is going to be breaking down what a definition of a habit is, how to maintain habits, how to have them sustainable and holistic to where you can balance them and continue them progressively. Help yourself develop a habit system and what that looks like for each individual. We're all unique, just like our recovery, just like our development, just like our lifestyle and our life experiences. We're all unique and we have our own ways. However, there are certain processes and protocols we can follow, certain components that we can add into our systems that make them more successful and more likely to achieve. Now, we're going to talk about the habit loops, the habit stacking, 2-minute rules, finding an accountability partner or habit buddy, um, productivity compounds, knowledge compounds, relationship compounds. These are some of the components we'll be talking about that go along with the whole habit building system. This is building habits and removing them. So remember, habits can work for you or against you. It's how you process them and what the purpose of them is, whether you need to increase them, build them fresh from start, remove them, or modify them. With all these different ways to define and build and remove habits, there's just a few set protocols that we can follow that'll help us to maintain the success of whether we're building or removing. Now, let's talk about what a habit is. I mean, obviously, everybody usually says, oh, well, a habit's something you do over and over. It's a routine. So, a routine or a practice performed regularly, an automatic response to a specific situation. Think of it this way: the more that we're able to instinctually and automatedly proceed at doing something, the more likely we are to be able to focus on details and situations and all the things around us. The more we're able to just intrinsically apply whatever it is we're doing in a fashion that is progressive, that is consistent, that is up to our par standard, and that we could be happy with. Now, doing that is building a habit would be specific, scheduled, and trackable. This is a planned habit. So think of it as just terms like this. A mental note is like something that you want to do, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get that done this week, or I'm going to get this done tomorrow. It's a mental note reminding yourself, hey, this is something I want to achieve. This is something that I'm looking to get done. Now, with a planned habit, there's the protocols in place that say, hey, this is the process I'm going to use. This is what I want to do. This is the specific action. This is the scheduled time. This is the way I'm going to measure it and track that, I'm getting from point A to point B to point C and so on and so forth. Now, the success rate of doing a planned habit is 2 to 3 times more than a mental note. Now, there's no specific quantifiable way because everybody's unique, everybody does it a little differently, but you're 91% in a general quantitative way to be successful if you have a planned habit with certain steps in place. Now, with the mental note, you're around 30 to 35% success rate. Now, I'm not saying that mental notes are bad. You don't always have time to sit down and plan and write something out. Like you make a mental note like, hey, I'm going to get that done. And depending on the priority and the importance, it might have no problem with getting that done. But on a consistent long-term basis, you're going to need to really enable the habit system to continue that in a fashion that's going to be sustainable and maintainable for longevity, a period of time. Now, let's talk about what these things are. So we got the habit loop. We're going to talk about each one of these individually in the following videos, but just to briefly touch on it, the habit loop is set up with the routine, and the reward. We're talking about small changes. So think of an ice cube. Now, if you have an ice cube sitting on a table and it's 32 degrees out, or in the room, you're not going to see any change in it, right? Then you move 1% up. You move to 33 degrees. You don't really see anything different. You move to 34. Don't see anything different. 35. You might start to see some residual water around the edges. 36, 37, 38. Once you hit this critical threshold, that's when you see a change. So at 38 degrees, you might start seeing water drip off, droplets on the side of it, water pooling up around the edges of it. This is that critical threshold where you see a change. Now, that's where people, between that 32 and that 38, people lose their motivation. Motivation is ebbing and flowing. It doesn't always stick with you. You might be more motivated one day than another. So we talk about discipline. Discipline is enacting the same behavior even when you're not necessarily motivated or wanting to do it. It is something that you implement this system around, so that way on the days that you're not really feeling it, you still can accomplish it, right? So these are things we're going to talk about intricately, and talk about the consistency, talk about your support systems. Winners and losers have the same goals. The difference is the processes that they take, the plans that they make, and the purposes that are embedded in those goals. So habits can work for you or against you. Depends on what the habit is, whether you want to keep it, maintain it, build it, and evolve it, or you want to remove it. So, excuse me. Little habits are part of a bigger system. So we're going to talk about systems a lot. We're going to talk about how we can move from the thought of goals, which goals are good to have, but goals are more of an event. So if you have a goal and you're moving it, forward on a continuous basis, that can build into a habit, into a system, and you can maintain that and continue to evolve that progressively. If you think of just a goal like, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and I achieved it, now what? You're looking at like, oh, well, now I don't know what to do. I got to make a new goal. So goals are good to have, but you want to have a system in place to where those goals are more of tracking points. So this is point A, I achieved that. Okay, the next point is in this purpose, I'm going to achieve that. So we're going to talk about those type of things as well. Don't look at goals as the end result. Look at systems as the end result. Look at a system that you can function, that you can work into your daily program. You can queue it up, you can routine it up, and you can reward yourself, whether it be with a self-reward or the experience itself is rewarding. So think of it, as like the more you practice it, the better you are, right? Think of somebody that never used a hammer before and they're banging in some nails. You're gonna be kind of banging on it a bunch, maybe miss it a few times, but the more you practice it, the more you're able to just walk up, hit that nail it in, and move to the next, right? Making it flow, making it a something that's built into you, and that you can do that specific response automated. So thank you for watching this. We're going to start this series. This was a breakdown of the habit series. I hope you got a little bit out of this so far. We're still working on a presentation here. It's a little bit different, as I've said before, speaking to a camera rather than an audience. But I'm liking the experience. I hope you guys are as well. Subscribe, like, share it, get it out there. I'm going to start trying to get these videos out a lot quicker, and we can develop this together. In the future, I also look for collaborations and to have some other people co-starring, guests upon the show, and we can talk about all kinds of other things. But this is the start of the Habit series with Finding the Growth Equation. I'm Roger Shelstad. Thanks for tuning in.